Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Phillies Key Team Small Business Series. To tell you about our series, Phillies Key Team at Citywide Keller Williams Philadelphia is a small BIPOC-owned real estate team. We are working with a lot of businesses in our community to learn about what they do, how they're surviving COVID-19 pandemic, and what we can do as a business community to strengthen our ties. So in an effort to do that, we connected with Jeffrey Appelson of Jeffrey Scott, which is a menswear and suit company based in Princeton, New Jersey. And yeah, we're super excited to have you here, Jeff. So tell us about
Pleasure to
Jeffrey
be here.
Scott.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
great.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
Yeah, it's huge, and especially, with everything that's been going on, it's such a nice way to, connect with our audiences and with other people, to talk about what we do and spotlight some of our strengths. So
Yeah.
tell me more about your business line. How long have you been in business?
Sure. So I've been in business now for 3 years. So the business is still very young. It is my absolute passion, and my goal is to build a big fashion brand and make it full time. Currently, it's not, but I'm working towards it. However, I've been in the industry for 10 plus years. So
Wow.
yeah,
How
yeah.
did you get started?
So I started part-time at a menswear store in Cherry Hill Mall,
Hmm.
which then moved to Philadelphia in Liberty Place, the tall, big blue buildings.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Down, oh geez, like 15th and something.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, down around there.
Right. So I started there, and that's really where I grew an even larger passion for menswear. I was always into it, and I always wanted to dress well. But starting my job there, led me towards the suit world and the luxury menswear world. And that's where I really grew that passion and started to learn a lot about that industry, because that's what we were selling. It was kind of similar to a men's warehouse style store,
Hmm.
but privately owned. And a lot of focus was on suits and also custom made suits. So that was a small aspect of it. However, when we moved the store was when we really kind of downsized and focused strictly on luxury suiting and custom. So my knowledge grew from that. And at the store, I became close with my manager there. And after I had left, I worked there for a couple of years. After I left, I stayed connected to my manager, my friend, and stayed connected to the industry as well, because I made relationships with manufacturers and vendors and all that. And
Right.
5 years ago, actually 6 years ago now, my friend started this business, and I had worked with him for fun on the side part time. It was the same time I started my career in sales, and so he taught me a lot over the years. And then 3 years into working my career in sales and dealing with so many different business owners and learning the ins and outs of business, I felt comfortable doing my own thing.
Nice.
So yeah, so I reached out to my friend, and I said, hey man, I love what you're doing here. I love the brand, and I really want to grow this and make it into something big and follow my passion. How do you feel about bringing me on board? And he was 100% all about it. I took half the company, partnered up with him, and that was 3 years ago. And then a year into working with him, I decided to buy him out, rebrand, and it's been just myself going forward ever since.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
that is such a cool transition too, to go from, working like in menswear to specifying luxury suits, and
Yeah.
then being able to take that business and like you said, developing those relationships with manufacturers and vendors, and having a sense of that world is extraordinarily helpful for starting out as an entrepreneur. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, and that's great too that a lot of businesses, you start sort of with like as a sole proprietorship, but it sounds like you became a sole proprietorship once you had developed some artistic vision. Do you have any training in art or fashion, or is this?
No,
Oh,
it's
so
just
this,
I have an eye for it, and just over the years, following different blogs and magazines and Italian and English fashion are they're big inspirations for me, and I just kind of work my style over the years to figure out what I like best, and it's still evolving too. I'm still changing. I look at outfits that I put together 2 years ago where I'm shaking my head like, why did I do that? But at that moment in time, I liked it, and now I'm still kind of creating my brand and my house style, so to call it. But yeah, it's just constant trial and error, mixing and matching, figuring out what I love, and looking for inspiration elsewhere.
that's that's awesome.
Yeah.
Where I guess I was, that kind of leads to my next question, which is with the inspiration. Like, do you take like I'm a big fan of Tom Ford. He doesn't do a lot of women's wear, but
Wow.
he
Yeah.
yeah, like I love his aesthetic, and I guess are there any specific lines that you are inspired by, or
Yeah.
um, you know, great.
Yeah, Tom Ford is definitely one of them. It's funny that you said that. One of the greatest compliments I've gotten so far is after a suit that I posted of a client wearing a suit that I made for him. Somebody commented and said that looks like a Tom Ford suit. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that felt great to receive that comment because it's his aesthetic and his style and the fit of his clothing is beautiful,
Mhm.
and that's very important to me is the fit and the look, and I'm a perfectionist when it comes to that. So yeah, to receive that compliment was really humbling and really nice. Ralph Lauren is also a huge inspiration. If you
Nice.
haven't seen his documentary on HBO, it's called Very Ralph.
Mhm.
That is super inspiring and very interesting to see his timeline from starting with nothing out of I think the Bronx or Brooklyn and building this huge brand. And he also had no formal education in design or
Yeah,
fashion. Yeah, yeah.
that's incredible. Especially, I actually have a colleague at business school who claims to be like Ralph Lauren's neighbor in Greenwich, Connecticut. So
Oh
that's,
wow,
but
interesting.
yeah, definitely. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
Uh, but yeah, like I can see that in some of the aesthetic that I went and scoped your website and have checked out some of your work, and I'm sure, our audience will do so as well. And I can definitely see as soon as you said Ralph Lauren, I was like, that's another, especially with like the plaids and sort of the country club look. It's
sure.
definitely,
Thank
yeah, of course, yeah, I definitely see it, and but you definitely have a great spin on it. And to be, Princeton, New Jersey is kind of it's an interesting place because it's more like a small city than like a large town.
Sure.
Um, but you do have this audience there that a lot of this is a bedroom community for New York City and for Philadelphia. So it's got this interesting nexus. So that leads to another question, which is being local to Princeton, New Jersey. Like, what's your favorite part? Did you grow up in New Jersey? Like, tell us about your relationship with your locality.
Yeah, I actually grew up in West Windsor, which is the
Sweet.
next town over. So, and I went to Princeton all the time on lunch breaks, and still do now with the family. So it's pretty cool to be able to have a business in the area as well. I'm very familiar with the area, and I love Princeton. Um, so it feels great. And I'd say my favorite part about it is being able to connect and help the people in the area,
Mm.
especially where I grew up.
Yeah, absolutely. And as someone who's localish to Princeton myself, actually one of my bosses, Jackie Key, also from Montgomery Township. So we kind of understand, the Princeton connection. Like it's just
Right.
nice to be able to hop into town and see what's there. And
Yes.
I definitely I think that what's great about your business is it does seem to fit with a lot of the other Princeton local businesses, all down Nassau Street, in Palmer Square. There's tons of fashion businesses. So there's definitely a demand for it. And like you said, it's
Yeah.
nice to be able to serve a community that you're connected to and have, ties with and history there. So that's super cool. I guess,
Yeah.
with all of this, do you have any partnerships with local businesses in Princeton, or is there like a Princeton, and this is just my ignorance, is there like a Princeton like fashion association, or um,
There is no association, actually. Maybe I
hey,
should start that.
I was about to say you could start one. That would
Yeah,
be,
not that
yeah,
there's not one that I know of. Um, yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Well,
but I have partnered with some local businesses, actually a women's boutique shop in Princeton called Rouge, who has some very nice luxury
I
women's clothing.
Yeah, I was
Familiar?
about to say I love Rouge. I
Yeah,
haven't been there in years, but
yeah,
I definitely, I remember going there, and I would like see what was there, and they definitely are like a fashion, like, basically like that's where I would go if I were to understand fashion trends among young women now, like, because that's I remember like the first time I saw like a pair of Fry boots in person was at Rouge.
yeah,
So
nice.
I'm glad to hear that you're getting in there. They're definitely a nice
Yeah.
place.
Kali is the owner. She's great. She, I believe she moved, but was in New York City for the longest time, and would always go and find, top quality brands and clothing to put in her store. And we partnered and did what was it? I forget the name of the event, but I set up shop and did a small trunk show, and we had champagne and threw a little event to, do some cross promoting. So that was fun.
That's wonderful. And
Yeah.
definitely the next time that once all this COVID insanity is over, I'll definitely come to the next one.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So in light of all of this, now I've done a lot of reading about luxury management and luxury in the luxury industry during COVID-19, and it ranges from dire to actually helpful. I would definitely recommend checking out Daniel Longer,
Okay.
who is I'll email you his information, but he's a
Yeah, please.
professor specializing in luxury management at Pepperdine University. Um, but I've been following that. But I guess, how has COVID affected your business, and how have you handled it as far as because we see the impacts to retail, but especially luxury is a bit different because it is it's kind of its own thing. So I'm very curious to hear your answer.
Yeah. With the first 3 months of the virus, I shut down. Um, and that was a big hit. But the reason I had to do it is because all of my fittings I do in person.
Right,
And I'm traveling to my clients. I'm either in their office, which now they're no longer in, or their
mm,
home. So it's very close and personal. And it just wasn't safe enough to continue doing business. So, and I actually don't have a physical showroom. So the Princeton location is kind of a shared office space where I do fittings occasionally if someone prefers, but my mindset and my convenience aspect of what I do is traveling direct to my clients,
right.
working around their schedule. So yeah, for the first 3 months, I did nothing. And then, yeah, back end of June, beginning of June is when I started fittings again, and it's slowly picking up. Um, and I make sure that I keep as much distance as possible when I'm doing the fittings, and
Mhm.
we're both wearing masks and sanitizing and following all of those protocols. It's definitely still down, maybe 50% of what I normally do. However, it's slowly picking up, and a lot of the business I'm doing now is weddings or
Ah,
or people that are still interested and passionate about dressing well and want to look good, because most of the corporate guys are still sitting at home and not really going out and wearing their suits. So it's
right.
definitely been a big hit in that world.
Mm. I hadn't thought about that impact that people's dress and attire in their homes is very different from the outside. So I definitely
At least on the bottom half.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, with Zoom calls, it's definitely it's funny too because I know personally. I actually like sort of reached a point where I was like, I'm going to make a point to establish some home boundaries and work boundaries.
Hmm.
So, even though I'm in my house and both times, when I still dress for work, and I guess, you can still get half dressed for work,
Right.
just on Zoom calls.
Yep.
But that's definitely, I feel like that makes sense for some of the practical reasons for why fashion and why fashion and apparel has taken a hit at so many levels is that people are staying in casa.
Hmm.
Um,
It's true.
they're staying, yeah.
You see, Brooks
So
Brothers went bankrupt,
I
and
did,
several others, so they're taking a huge hit, which
yeah.
makes it better for us small guys.
True. I mean, so you might find, I guess that I hadn't considered that either, which is the market opportunity with larger brands that rely so much more on brick and mortar infrastructure to sell their brands versus, it sounds like you're very portable and you're also very, you can provide service at a different, more tangible level. So, it makes sense. And I'm sorry that you lost a quarter of business to this COVID insanity. It's kind of,
Yeah, thank you. It's all good. It's part of life now.
sure.
Strange part of it, but
Yeah,
we'll get through it. We learn from it. Things will pick back up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So are you, as far as recruiting clients, are you using more like online marketing or is it just a matter of adjusting the business until it's safe right now?
Yeah, as far as getting clients, it's a combination of um, networking, um, client referrals, social media. I'm involved in a business strategy class that has really
Nice.
helped me grow my business, which I can send you information on if you'd like to check it out.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
yeah, and also LinkedIn, which I think is an underrated, underused platform. I have found a lot of opportunity. That's how we connected.
Sure.
So yeah, um, that's been helpful as well.
Yeah. So it sounds like, you've adopted some appropriate strategies. And I totally agree about LinkedIn. I think that, a lot of what we would have relied on, this time last year, with trade shows and, exhibitions and even just, face-to-face introductions. I mean, I'm sure, there's probably a degree of, being in Princeton that helps you have more conversations and meet more people. And it's
Right.
just the same, yeah, it's just the same in real estate too, which is, that sort of, no, we're providing a service to a consumer and you're providing a product, but, it is very similar, for customer attainment,
Yeah.
similar procedures. So yeah, and I'm so glad that we connected on LinkedIn too. And I'll look out for that, the business strategy recommendation for sure.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So I guess in line with strategy, what are some of the top observations you've made about your business and about working in luxury and apparel?
So a lot of it's a good question. I know that you mentioned this question to me before, and I think there's definitely a lot of interest in it now, and I think the luxury and custom tailored garment industry is really growing. I think there's a
Hmm.
lot of people realizing the difference and importance and the struggle it is right now to find something that actually fits well.
Right.
So I think the demand is increasing for sure, and people are showing more appreciation for dressing well and taking care of you know how they dress. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
I think that does make sense, and I agree. And it sounds like, I feel like there was a big adjustment in, just observing somebody, as somebody who shops. Like there's sort of a big like adjustment from, stores where you could go in and get fittings and such, to, just having like you get more stuff off the shelves now, like, and then you have to go tailor it. So or, you don't tailor it and you're just stuck with uncomfortable clothing.
Exactly. And after you buy the suit and spend another couple hundred on alterations, you're nearly at the cost of something custom made, which will fit much better even after that.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
feel like, yeah, like there's also, it just seems like there is more interest in like in custom pieces as well. Like you said, I feel like, and some of it's probably our generation is, we're Etsy lovers. We shop, we shop for homemade, like handmade stuff. Um,
Right.
there's definitely something to be said for that, for that element of things. I'm a little
Yeah.
curious because I
There,
am a sorry, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I'm a Poshmark user,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure if you have tried to market your business on like any of these online platforms, or if I guess because of customs is not really appropriate to, but they do offer a boutique, where you can put your own custom stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I haven't. No, I haven't looked into that. Not Poshmark specifically. Um, my wife's on there. She sells all the time.
nice,
But yeah, no,
nice.
I haven't looked into any of the online boutiques. A big part of it is because I don't have anything that is ready to wear.
Ah, that's
All
true.
custom made to order. Mm.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that makes sense, and that because I was a little curious, but I also wasn't sure if you had a ready to wear line at all. Um, but that's a lot of inventory and expensive. It's
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Maybe
and
down the
yeah,
road, but for now, it's all custom made to order. Yeah. And I was thinking back to what we were talking about before with what I'm seeing in the industry. I remember sharing an article that Bloomberg put out titled "The Suit Proclaimed Dead is Alive and Well for Top Tailors," and it just gets into the industry a little bit and how it's growing.
nice.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, that sounds like a really interesting read. I will definitely check that out.
yeah,
Because it sounds like it builds on some of the the industry trends and stuff.
sure.
For sure.
Yeah,
Have you I guess have you considered making ready to wear line? Is that
I've
something?
thought about it. It's not something I plan on doing soon.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to grow this aspect of it and then see where the future takes me, see where I
Yeah.
want to take the brand from there. Eventually, I think it may be something I would do.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I totally agree. I think that, there is sort of a cachet of getting something custom made that, is hard to, it's two entirely different markets.
yeah,
But to loop back to that, I feel like that there is definitely, it is, especially I've noticed like for menswear, for suiting does tend to be more expensive than, like, I feel like you can get a pre-made suit as a woman and then tailor it, and then ultimately you haven't spent as much money as like a single, like a ready to wear suit for a guy. Um, I don't know if you've observed any sort of funny trends like that, but there's definitely lots to be said for, custom pieces are, I think I agree with you. I think they're making a comeback,
yeah.
and interested in reading more about that. So this is super insightful, especially in light of an industry that, as a real estate professional, I know so little about. But I guess, another question is what sort of, because you've gotten past sort of the hardest stage as an entrepreneur, which is launching the brand, building it, and then getting it sustainable.
Hmm.
So what sort of insights might you have for other people, especially like in fashion, apparel, and luxury, that are looking to start their own businesses?
Just do it. I
Nice.
think you touched on it just now. The hardest thing is actually, starting a business. Just commit to it. Just go with it because there's a lot you're not going to know. There's a lot you're not going to know in the beginning. And I think that's what kind of scares people away
Mhm.
from it is like, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know where to start. But if it's your passion, that will drive you through it and you learn as you go. Because you'll always, if you don't just go ahead and do it, I think you'll always just make an excuse for when you want to do it. And then that time comes around and be like, you know what, maybe I'll wait for this.
Mhm.
But I say just go for it and do your research. There's a beautiful thing out there called Google where you can learn a lot from. But also reach out to other businesses, other CEOs in the industry with brands, and ask for their advice. Ask about their story and how they got started and what they recommend, and just try and gain as much knowledge as you can about the industry you want to get into, and go from there.
Great. Yeah, I think that that's definitely a sound way to go about it. And such wonderful advice from, an entrepreneur who has done it. Thank you so much. I think that that's super insightful. So I guess, the next question is, how do we get in touch with you? What's the best way to follow up with you? If we have questions about entrepreneurship or want to get a custom suit made.
Sure. My website, you can go on there. It's jeffreyscott.com, JEFFREYSCOTT. And from there, you can contact me directly through the website, or if you want to email me, it's jeff@jeffreyscott.com. You can also find me on Instagram @JeffreyScott, and call me directly, 609-367-6290.
Wonderful. All right. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for taking the time to tell us about.
I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this was so good. So we will follow up with you and get in touch.
Perfect.
Thank you again.
Yes, thank you.